Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. Barry, could you lead us in the flag salute? Roll call been taken?
We will be proceeding with an oral roll call.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Present.
Commissioner Grunsky, Commissioner Roostaller,
Present.
Commissioner Midgley, Commissioner Maury. That concludes roll call. Thank you.
At this time, do we have any action or requests for continuance or withdrawals this evening?
Chair and members of the Commission, David Kwong, your director. We do have from staff requests for continuance for item number 1. And then we've also got other additional correspondence that we receive even as of today and this afternoon regarding items number 2 and 3. And just as additional information, we also have a constituent who may be on the line requesting, as you get to item number 3, item number 3, to have it removed. But I will defer to Chair and Commission and the constituent, as that constituent may appear online or on the Teams meeting. So with that, again, staff requesting continuance for item number 1. Thank you.
We need a vote on that?
Done by motion, yes.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roostaller,
Aye.
Commissioner Maury,
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Move to action items, consent items number here. Consent items number 2, correct? 3. At this time, well, let me back up a second here. At this time, the public is welcome to address Planning Commission on items of interest to the public that are not listed on the agenda. Comments to the Commission are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes or 250 words for comments provided via email. Records.org. Have any requests? Want to come forward? Speaking in the microphone, thanks. Right, that's fine. State your name and address, please.
Joseph Anthony Pizarro.
This is
Joseph.
This is for an item that's not on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This which is for welfare in our community, correct? And this one is the household authorization representative. And there's this one, I brought this one just because there's another piece of paper, and it might be this one also, but it's talking about do they pay money for when they get fired or they go back to work, talking about the welfare system on the house authorities and stuff out there for welfare, like GEA and all these other assistance for these welfare programs that I believe that we need to work more on. That way we could change the stuff from the first page and others that don't need to be in the belongings of this packet.
You have anything else?
I have the whole packet. I haven't got to study that much, honestly, but I mean, I've read through pages and I understand. This is the one I was talking about. Is your household gross? Which I guess it would be, a quick word for groceries. but is your household gross income less than 150 and cash on hand, checking, and 150 and cash on hand, checking, and saving accounts 100 or less? So basically, speaking of the matter of, well, the house utilities, are they getting met, and are you spending those house utilities for just your rent, or do you get more money from?
This is a planning commission meeting for land use. Maybe one of the staff can direct you to the right
Okay, well, at least
department to speak with.
all right. I apologize for putting you guys' court date on a different date.
John here maybe could help you out and
All right.
right department.
Thank you. You don't mind if I sit here for a while too?
Not at all. Thank you.
sir.
Okay. We have action items now. Thank you, sir. Action items number 2. Back up here. Excuse me. Consent items number 2 and 3. Consent agenda. Items calendar for consent will be approved in one motion without a public hearing unless a member of the Planning Commission or the audience requests that the item be removed from the consent calendar and heard separately. Item number 2 is specific plan amendment number PA 200077. Item number 3 is a major subdivision number PA 200129. We have anybody in the audience, online, call in that would like to have either one of those pulled for discussion?
I will be checking with the attendees online here. First, the caller from number 3026. You are interested in speaking to either of the two items. That's the specific plan amendment PA 200077. That's coupled with site approval PA 1900286. Or if you're looking to speak on behalf of the major subdivision number PA 20000129, please unmute yourself and state any comments you have. Seeing none, the next participant, phone number ending in 0729. The same thing, if you're looking to speak to the specific plan PA 200. Oh.
Yeah, I'm.
That's the same thing, if you're looking to speak to the plan PA 2000.
Yeah, I'm.
You will need to move away from the speaker or device that you have broadcasting the meeting to stop the feedback, please.
Thank you. I need the other hands.
Yeah, caller phone number ending in 3026. It sounded like you had a comment you were wishing to bring forward to one of those two items.
No, I'm sorry. I'm holding for item number 4.
Okay, thank you. We will bring you back into the public discussion at that time.
All right.
Okay, continuing on, we are at phone number for call in ending in 0729. If you're looking to speak to consent item number 2 or consent item number 3, again, those are projects, specific plan amendment 20000077 and site approval PA 1900286 or major subdivision PA 20000129. Right, seeing no comment, our third call-in number, phone number ending in 5873. Are you looking to speak on behalf of either of those two consent items? Seeing no response, it looks like we have an anonymous access ID code ending in 6687. If you were looking to speak on either of those two consent items, please unmute yourself and speak so now. I'm seeing no public participation through the call-ins.
Okay, seeing none, we'll have a motion for consent item number 2 and number 3.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
I just want to make sure we enter the additional correspondence that we received into the record for your consideration as part of your motion. And so we did provide that additional correspondence. Some we received yesterday and some we received today for both consent items. One was for particularly item number 2 from the Garibaldi, the family, Garibaldi family opposed their project to the Wilcox specific plan amendment. And then there was additional correspondence from Mr. Schmidt, who had some questions and concerns. And as I previously mentioned, one of the item pulled off consents, but it sounds like we don't have him on the line at this point.
Have a motion and a second. So if we have to put in your motion, include the,
Yes.
okay. Roll call, please. Whatever. Okay, thank you. He just included it in you. He did.
So amended. Include the correspondence that came in yesterday and today, which I did read.
Continue the roll call vote. Commissioner Grunsky. Commissioner Rustaller.
Yes.
Commissioner Maury.
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Consent item number 2 and 3. All right, we have an action item, permit number 4, use permit number PA 190036 in Connie Thayer.
I didn't see it.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This project is a use permit application for a change in use of historical resource. The change in use...
Excuse me. Can you take your mask
Oh,
down?
yes, okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. The change in use includes a conversion of an existing 2,937 square foot storage building into a community assembly hall and construction of a 600 square foot covered patio. The project is located on the east side of North Elliott Road, 140 feet north of East Laird Street in Lockford. The project has a general plan designation of RL, which is low density residential, and a zoning designation of AG 40, general agriculture, 40 acre minimum, and RL, low density residential. The project site is currently developed with a historical lock house, which was built in 1862, and the two-story addition was built in 1882. The building is currently used as a bed and breakfast facility, which was approved under a site approval application in 1997. The site was also developed with the lock barn that was built in 1858 and was previously used for community gatherings and military use. The surrounding uses are agricultural with scattered residences to the north and a residential unincorporated urban community of Lockford to the south, and to the east down the bluff is additional agricultural property, and to the west is residentially developed properties. This is a copy of the project area plan, site plan submitted by the applicant. The project location is located, that location. And the historic lock building located here. According to the National Register of Historical Places, the lock barn was originally built in 1852 and used for community gatherings and military use. Then in 1858, the lock barn was built and is currently being used as a bed and breakfast that was approved in 1997 and will remain in operation as approved. The current operators of the bed and breakfast state that they are proposing a place to host some small-scale events to complement the bed and breakfast. The community assembly hall will operate from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. for a maximum of 100 attendees during the events. The community assembly hall proposed to have 12 events per year, no more than one event per month, with amplified music and sound on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday during the hours of 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. The amplified sound for these events will end at 9 p.m. The events will end at 10 p.m. Examples of this type of events include weddings, birthday parties, and family reunions. A noise study was conducted by Saxelby Acoustics to evaluate potential impacts from having amplified music outdoors. The study concluded that the use of amplified sound will comply with the County of San Joaquin daytime noise level standard from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., with mitigation measures to be included in the conditions of approval. The amplified sound will be required to end at 9 p.m. The Community Assembly Hall also proposed a variety of events per year that will include no amplified music or sound on variable days during the week between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. Examples of these type of events include baby showers, bridal showers, and paint parties. The events will take place inside the historic lock barn and outside to the southeast in the open lawn area. The applicant has proposed a surfacing modification request to have pervious pavement for all parking and maneuvering areas instead of asphalt concrete or Portland cement as required by the development title. Pervious pavement is a grid system with a grass surface and permeable layers of gravel, soil, and sand underneath to allow for drainage. The Community Development Department has reviewed this request and due to the small scale of the facility recommends the Planning Commission grant this modification as proposed. The requirement has been included in the recommended conditions of approval. Additionally, there is an existing wood fence located along the northern and southern property lines that are adjacent to the residential properties. The development title would typically require a solid masonry wall 6 to 7 feet along these property lines due to the fact that it is considered a commercial project adjacent to residential properties. However, the Community Development Department has determined that the existing solid wood fence in conjunction with vegetation along the northern property line would provide adequate screening for the proposed use and recommends approval of this modification. There is no activity proposed at the southern end of the parcel. The Community Development Department received one letter from the San Joaquin County Farm Bureau with concerns regarding land use, traffic, parking, proximity, and right to farm, and 5 letters from 3 neighbors with concerns regarding traffic, use type, noise, dust, air quality, lighting, storm drainage, and property value, and 1 letter from the United Auburn Indian Community regarding potential impacts to cultural sites. Through careful review and consideration, the Community Development Department has determined that the project has, as designed, meets the development title requirements, and that the concerns raised by the neighbors, the Farm Bureau, and the United Auburn Indian Community can be mitigated through the conditions of approval and the right to farm ordinance. Therefore, these potential impacts are expected to be less than significant. Pursuant to the development title, in order to process this use permit, it is required that the historical resource is identified by a recognized historical organization, and that the proposed use will not detract from the historical resource. Additionally, modifications to historic resource shall be consistent with the historic character to be preserved. The proposed community assembly for the lock barn will restore the barn back to its original historic use for community gatherings. It is consistent with and complements the existing approved use for the lock house bed and breakfast, which has operated for the past 20+ years. The structural modifications to the lock barn shall be consistent with the historic character to be preserved. There are no proposed improvements or alterations to the front brick facade of the lock barn. The proposed modifications to the building, which includes an interior improvement to for a new restroom and an addition of a covered patio on the south side exterior, will be required to meet the historical building code to ensure consistency with the historic character of the building. This is a photo taken from North Elliott Road looking at the project area. This photo is from the center of the property facing northeast. This photo is from the center of the property looking south. This is a photo of the open lawn area for the outdoor events located between the bed and breakfast and barn, photo facing southeast. And this photo is of the lawn area taken from near the barn looking north. This is a photo of the lawn area facing toward the lock house building. Thank you. This concludes staff presentation.
Facility operations from 8 in the morning till 10, 4 days a week. Is that correct?
It would be an average of 4 days per week.
Average.
Yeah, an average. So it's on variable days. Yes.
And so you can have line for 100 customers each day, maximum.
That's correct.
And on an average of 2 days per week, you have no amplified sound on those other two.
As there would be amplified sound that would be allowed one time per month on either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And that's the limitation with the amplified sound. That would be the outdoor amplified sound.
Once a month, they would have amplified sound.
Outdoor.
Can you have amplified sound in the barn?
Yes, that's correct.
How many times a month?
It's inside the barn, so there's no limitation on
No limitation.
on the inside.
Music stops at 9, the events. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Any public gatherings, or was it always an agriculture barn, or is there any?
It was, according to the National Register, documented that it was used as a community meetings. That's what and that would fall under the use type of community assembly.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Could you explain again why it was decided not to use the masonry wall as opposed to just leaving it with the wood fence and shrubbery? Wouldn't the masonry wall help to reduce the noise levels?
But there's certain aesthetics that would come into play with the historical use in the wood fence and vegetation. And along the northern property line, there's parking, and so we're having vegetation in conjunction, which we feel that it would meet the intended standards, the development title for screening for that intensity of use. Yeah, it's aesthetic. It seems more aesthetic than the masonry wall.
Can you go back to your photos? I wonder if you had any photos, that backup one.
Oh, sorry.
That's the entrance, correct?
Yes, that's the entrance
Off Elliott.
south. Yes, that's one.
And where's the exit then?
Exit would be. It would be if you go straight.
Yeah. So it doesn't, the exit, this is the exit road, but it doesn't show the houses across the street. Thank you, Frank. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I got one more. Traffic studies are done. I've been on that road numerous times. Love the house. I think it's great that it's got a bed and breakfast there. But it's only one lane both for going one way or the other, correct? And then you've got neighbors right across the street.
That's correct.
What did the traffic study say? If they're adding 4 times a week, we're going to have up to what, 100 people or more driving in there?
Well,
Through the chair, if that's okay with you. We do have Public Works here who can probably give a more in-depth analysis of traffic impacts if that would help you.
Yeah, maybe when we open it up to, okay, thanks. Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, any other questions? If not, staff recommendation?
Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the mitigated negative declaration, adopt the findings for the use permit and additional findings for the historical resources, and approve the use permit number PA 190036 with the attached conditions of approval.
Okay. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. We have the applicant or his representative here tonight.
Yeah, my name is Dean Thayer. I'm one of the applicants. I'm one of the owners. My wife and I own the bed and breakfast together. We purchased it a couple of years ago, and we're the ones who are desiring to change the use to make it into an event venue. I'd like to respond to a couple of your questions earlier about the time of day, and the frequency of use. So it can be misleading to see that we might have 100 people 4 days a week. The reality is those would be our operating hours. We wouldn't have 100 people there for 14 hours a day. That would be ludicrous for just us as people too. The idea is we would have perhaps a 3-hour or a 4-hour or a 6-hour event that would include up to 100 people on any day of the week. So we don't want to limit ourselves to only Tuesdays you can have an event or only Thursdays. So we would be available, let's say somebody wants to have a birthday party or a family reunion or a paint party. They say, well, when can we have it? Well, we can have you on Tuesday. Well, Tuesdays don't work for me. How about Thursday? Thursdays are great. When do you want to start? 11 to 3. And then that would be the event for that day. And it might be only 20 people, it might be 50 people. It's unlikely that a paint party is going to be 100 people. Mostly the types of events that we anticipate that kind of traffic volume would be weddings or family reunions, which probably are going to occur on a weekend. And based on the number of people who can attend, most people don't drive a single car to a wedding. Usually there's families and that kind of thing. So you're not going to have 100 cars on the property at once. We can't even accommodate that many on the property because of the number of parking. Per Public Works and per the parking guidelines for San Joaquin, we're permitted to have 1 parking space per 3 individuals. So the idea is we would probably only have about maximum 40 cars on the property at any one time. And then, unlike other events such as movies, most people don't leave a wedding or event all at the same time. They'll sort of trickle in and out. So I think the traffic patterns may not be as substantial as you might originally expect, given that Elliott is a pretty busy road. We also have made changes. The photograph that you saw of the driveway, we've put a fence there with lighted pillars on either side of the driveways to sort of say, hey, this is where we're at now. So we believe that has improved the safety of entering and exiting the driveway parts of the building. As you also observed, the entrance, it's a horseshoe driveway. There's an entrance and there's an exit. We want to encourage our customers and guests who visit the property to only enter from one way and exit from the other way, so there's not a confusion as far as traffic buildup there. The other concern you had, I believe, was neighbors across the street. So when people exit the driveway, yes, they would be looking both ways to make sure that traffic is clear and it would be safe to enter the roadway. And I don't think our driveway is sloped downwards, so cars exiting the driveway wouldn't necessarily be shining their headlights directly into the neighbors across the street. Let's see. I think that's in response to the questions you've already raised. If you have any questions for me as far as what our intent is, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, what's your square footage of that barn? I know it's big and narrow.
The square footage is what you asked what the square footage is? Mm-hmm. The square footage of the barn is about 2,400 square feet on the first level, and then there is a 500 to 700 square foot second story, which would be used for like a rec room or a hangout spot for more intimate gatherings. For instance, we thought it would be good for, like, if the bridal party, the groomsmen wanted to have a hangout spot to spend time and gather themselves while the bridesmaids are off in a different location. We would use it for that.
So you're looking for, if you have a Wednesday baby shower, you want to have amplified music inside.
We would probably discourage the extensive presence of amplified sound either way.
It's in the application here.
I understand it's in the application.
Sure you do. But
yeah.
And on a small building like that, where's that sound going to go if people are inside? So you're going to have to open the doors.
We don't necessarily have to open the doors to keep the sound.
A patio outside you're going to utilize.
The patio outside, I wish they had the picture that Frank had earlier. There's a single 36-inch wide door that would access the patio. It would not be open all the time. It would be an automatic door.
You have parking lot lighting.
We do not have parking lot lighting yet. Obviously, since we're applying for the use permit, we're not going to install parking lot lighting until we get the use permit approved. But we do intend to do that. The idea is to use solar lighting, so it's only, and then have it timed so that it's not on at 4 o'clock at night when there's no one on the property. We don't want to disrupt the ambiance of the neighborhood.
Any other questions?
4.
The barn's current use is primarily storage. That's basically the things we own when we moved into Lockford are basically being used. It's largely being unused as anything except storage right now.
You live on the premises?
Yes, we do. We live in the bed and breakfast.
Questions? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else would like to speak in favor of this project?
Mike Smith Engineering, 4 North Main Street in Lodi. I just wanted to elaborate on the fact that it is a historical building, but with the improvements we put into it, it'll be completely safe, seismically safe, handicap accessible, all the bells and whistles. We've already discussed it. They're aware of, of what we're going to have to do to it. So I want to make sure that you understand that it's a historical building. And we do get some credit for historical building on some of the aspects of, bringing it up to code, but it is a change of use, so that's what we'll be required to be doing. Wanted you to know that, we're not going to put a baby shower in an unreinforced brick building without some.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Not. Or anyone like to speak in opposition to this project? Phone in.
I will be calling out the last four digits of the phone numbers for participants who have called in remotely. First participant, phone number ending in 8103. If you're looking to speak in opposition to this project, please unmute yourself and participate now. And caller, phone number ending in 8103. If you were looking to speak in opposition to the project, this is your chance to do so. Moving on, we have caller phone number ending in 6709. If you're looking to speak in opposition to the project, please unmute your phone. Who might have missed the information that is using the *6 to unmute and participate now. Again, caller with the phone number ending in 6709.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Oh, good. Hi, this is Kathleen Lapel. I am the neighbor directly north of the Lock House. And sorry I'm not online, but it just didn't work for the meet. First off, the schematics, as far as I'm concerned, don't represent correctly the locations of all the surrounding homes or buildings. Lights would go onto the houses, and without the use of a topographical map, it's misleading because our homes, my home in particular, is below the grade level, and the parking would be right above my home. And unfortunately, I couldn't send in the photo of that, but I sent in the photo on page 61 of the document that shows the rise in the road. So that kind of gives you an idea of where my house is located. It's approximately 20 feet off of the fence line. And that is the fence line that is the parking that they are suggesting that they not even have a masonry fence on, which, if I understood the code correctly, even with the bed and breakfast, there should be a masonry line there. Right now, all there is my chain link fence that we put slats in for privacy from the bed and breakfast, and then a little basket weave fence, but it does not go the whole way. So my big concern is the parking. It's the noise, the ongoing number of people, even though you can state that there would only be every other day, the permit says 4 times a week parking, and that is only suggesting that there's only one event per day. There could be 2 events per day if they're small or large, because that's how these event centers generally work. And so I would be having light in my yard, the noise, just the whole gamut of that from the parking directly above. Then the really worrisome thing is the impact on the traffic. I don't know if Mr. Thayer noticed, but yesterday he almost hit me pulling out of my driveway with his jet skis. You simply don't see. You don't see people when they're turning because of the rise of the road, and I did include a picture of that. So these driveways that are exiting are blind onto Elliott Road. So you can look both ways, but the cars rising up can't see who's pulling out in front of them. So I consider that a real issue is the traffic. It could be potentially lethal. The amplified music in a residential area, inside 4 times a week, outside once a month, with the volumes, I know that they had the volume study and all that, but that's not even counting the people walking to their cars that continue the party after the party and the music has been shut down. So there's all sorts of factors taken in. And I did the math on this, and with just assuming that they're going to have the allotted events, not piggybacking on like many event centers have, that's 204 events a year they are requesting. And that's a lot of events. That's at the minimum. And those are held until possibly 10 o'clock at night. And then my thought is, okay, so what as residents, what can we do if they go past those hours? Who's going to keep tabs? Who's going to keep tabs on how many events they have during the week? Who's going to keep tabs on how many people are there or the noise levels? And as residents, we either call the sheriff, who won't know won't know anything about this, or we call code enforcement. And I personally know that code enforcement is not going to be out there counting how many events they have during the week. And that I also know, because my husband works for code enforcement for Sacramento County, that they don't work weekends, they don't work nights, they don't work holidays, and their job is not to count the noise decibels or the number of people or all those at these events. So basically, as neighbors, we would have no recourse if this would be approved. So they're asking for exceptions on paving, so they don't have to put on a drain pond. They've already asked for the exception on the wall, and they've already had events. I sent in pictures. They were advertising for events. So this is not something that's new, that we are unfamiliar with the noise. This has been going on. So we wouldn't have, as neighbors, have any recourse to these events. So we've got traffic, noise, and that's not even talking about the delivery vans going in and out for these events, because as we all know, you don't have a wedding without numerous catering trucks. And what, as neighbors, what could we do? And maybe Thayer said that they don't plan on having people every 4 days a week or whatever. But the point being is, if they sell and cash out, which they very well could, this permit goes with the property. And then as neighbors, we have no recourse. And furthermore, I looked it up in March of 2009, there was a public document on the San Joaquin County site that states that it's the Special Purpose Plan for Lockford Design Guidelines prepared for San Joaquin County Community Development, March 2009. And it reviews all the historical buildings. But it clearly states the commercial area in Lockford, of which the Lock House is not in. So we are not zone commercial. Anybody who's been by, we are in a residential area and agriculture. I myself have grown, as you've read my letters, all sorts of things. And so then they're asking it to be commercial with noise that we can't do anything about. We as neighbors who've been here forever have no control over any of it. Or the traffic that's already horrible. That's a whole other thing. The speed is horrible. And we would have no recourse. Nothing. And so those are just kind of my rambling observations. Thank you.
Thank you. Have any others?
Continuing on the roll call of those who are participating remotely, we have a phone number ending in 5873. If you're looking to speak in opposition to this project, please unmute yourself and participate at this time. I see the participant has unmuted themselves, but we are not hearing you if you're attempting to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please continue.
There. Okay. This is Shirley Grennig, and I'm the neighbor directly to the south. And my biggest one of my concerns is the noise and commotion that is practically in my backyard. The basket weave fence, which doesn't block noise, doesn't block dust, doesn't block light, is 10 feet from my bedroom. They have proposed parking additionally on the south side of the property. That's 10 feet from my bedroom again. The barn is about less than 50 yards from my house. And when they've had amplified events in the past, I've been in my house with the windows closed, the air conditioner on, and the TV on, and I've been thumping. I can hear the DJ and the sound system very clearly in the house. That's not acceptable. I can hear conversations that go on up by their house because I'm down the hill from them. And sound does travel down the hill. The additional traffic, I take my life in my hands trying to get out of my driveway now. I can't see the traffic coming to the south because of the parking from the apartments across the street. And so when I'm trying to get out, I actually have to try and sneak up the shoulder of the road so I can see whether there's any oncoming cars. I've gone in and out of that driveway up there too, and it's the same problem. You just cannot. The road bends there, and you can't see to the south. And you can't see the cars coming up the hill. And they literally fly. They don't. I'm 2 blocks from Highway 88. They don't even bother hitting the brakes until they're at least another block down the street. We had a friend a while back that was sitting here, and he's going, the posted sign out there says 25 miles an hour, and I haven't seen the car go by yet that's been going that. And that's the truth. Also, I get runoff from their property onto mine, including down from the roadside. My driveway is full of silt because they took the vegetation out, and it's running down into my driveway. And as I said, I am below them. There's probably, between my yard and theirs, there's a cut of about 6 feet or more of a drop, and that puts their lights and everything right pretty much at my bedroom window level. I really don't need that. I get up and go to work early in the morning. I don't need to be up partying all night with them, whether I want to or not. I just am hoping that you'll consider reducing or eliminating this as something that doesn't need to be going on in a residential area like this. I mean, the houses are fairly close together here, and the ones across the street are not that far back off the street, and neither is the lock house itself fairly close to the street. So, there's nothing there. And
Okay, do you have anything else to add?
I think that's it.
Great. Thank you for calling in.
Continuing on, our next call-in participant, number ending in 6025. If you're looking to participate, please unmute your phone and speak now if you're wishing to speak in opposition to that project. Call-in participant, phone number ending in 6025. Please unmute your phone if you wish to participate. Seeing no response, we'll move on to the next caller. Phone number ending in 7683. If you were calling to speak in opposition to this project, please unmute your phone and speak now. Once again, caller with the phone number ending in 7683. If you're looking to participate, this is your opportunity to do so. Oh, I'm actually seeing 2 people have unmuted themselves. Let me first, phone number ending in 6025 will allow you to speak. We will come to 7683 afterwards. Thank you.
Yes, I'm calling for PA 1900286. Hello?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So So I'm opposing construction site where I live on Garibaldi Street.
Interrupt. I think the constituent is calling about a different project, so can we confirm that?
Yes, I'm calling for a different project.
Which project?
PA 1900286.
The Wilcox specific.
Oh, yeah, we've already gone past that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was on
Thank you.
hold. Okay.
Thank you.
Phone number ending in 7683. As you've unmuted yourself, if you wish to participate, please speak.
Hi, my name is Connie, and I'm the other applicant for the project. I was hoping to have a chance to support the project later when the response to the objections are heard.
You're the co-applicant?
That's correct.
Get back to you.
Okay.
And moving on to our last call-in participant, phone number ending in 9371. If you're looking to speak in opposition to the project, please unmute yourself and speak now.
Hello, this is Rose Knox.
Go ahead.
Hi, I don't live in Lodi. I was actually late getting to the meeting. I was concerned about the other project behind my property at 3189 North Cherland Avenue. I guess you've already. I'll call it. I guess I'll get minutes for that. But I just wanted to support. I don't live in the area that you're talking about, the Elliott Road project. But I would like to say that a year and a half ago, my life changed on my 5 acres when a new property owner with 4 acres next to me decided to have amplified music and bands almost every Saturday afternoon and evening going into Sunday morning at 2 a.m. So I have to listen to music from 12:30 p.m. sometimes on a Saturday to 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And as far as code enforcement goes, you call the sheriff's department at maybe 11:30 or 12 o'clock at night, and if they're available, they'll come out. The last 2 times I called, they haven't had anyone available, so no one's come. I also work full time, so I know what amplified music can do. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Anybody else?
That concludes the list of call-in participants. Sorry, that concludes the list of the call-in participants. We do have the co-applicant we can bring back later.
Okay, so let's, if that's the last of the opposition, then we'll bring back the co-applicant.
All right, and that was the phone number ending in 7683. If you would please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now. Please continue.
Thank you. So I wanted to address a few of the concerns that were raised. We were allowed to have some special events without a permit, and we did hold 3 events last year in 2019 that were within the county guidelines for special events. So that wasn't something we did outside of the law or of the county. With regard to traffic, the area is a high traffic area. People do not obey the speed limit. And that was a concern 20 years ago when the original bed and breakfast project was put forth. I don't see really why we should be penalized for the way the land is formed. It's an ongoing issue. People don't respect speed limit. It should be 25 miles an hour like a school zone, and it's not. To me, that's a county problem. That shouldn't be my personal problem. We think the most amount of requests we get for events are small events, baby showers and bridal showers, most notably. We do not get many requests for weddings. We do not have any employees. It's just my husband and I. So the way a typical week would look is we may have a Wednesday night Bible study inside the barn. A Friday night we may have a baby shower or a birthday party. And then Saturday or Sunday we may have a larger event, a family reunion or a wedding. But there's only myself and my husband to do all the preparation and cleanup from that, in addition to hosting bed and breakfast guests. We don't intend to bankroll staff for this. All we're looking for is a way to complement the existing bed and breakfast and bring in a small amount of additional income to offset the mortgage on the property. So there is not enough tourism in the Lodi-Lockford area for the 5-bedroom bed and breakfast to make ends meet. And it would be valuable for the number of people who ask, which is several, to have this kind of business model to support the bed and breakfast. All the events that we held last year were events that guests staying at the inn wanted to have. So we are not bringing in people from the public. People are spending the night. They're having a family event on the property, and then they're going home. So again, a lot of these events are small. I really would like to develop a retreat avenue for the property. I'd like to be able to use the property for art retreats, staff retreats, corporate retreats, things that don't require music at all, that are not even parties. They don't involve alcohol. So those are the kinds of, in my heart, those are the kinds of things I would really like to see happen with the property.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Yes. Your rebuttal time.
So I appreciate the concerns that the neighbors have raised, and I believe that we have done, we've made some changes to the property already to help improve the separation between our neighbors and their privacy and ours. When we moved in, there were no fences around the property at all that were of any substantial barrier. There were basically T-bar and barbed wire on surrounding. The fence on the south side of the property was rotted wood that was 3.5 feet high when it was erected. Consequently, to help improve the privacy between us and our southern neighbor, we erected the basket weave fence, which you noted is attractive. Because of the potential noise concerns, we could tear that fence down and put a masonry fence wall in, which, to be honest, may not be as attractive to either myself or our southern neighbor. If she wants a brick wall there, we can certainly put that in order to get the project approved. I don't think it would be befitting to the rural environment of Lockford. Likewise, on the northern end, when we moved in, there was no fence there at all, and then shortly after we moved in, a chain link fence was erected by Kathy. And as you know, chain link fences are see-through, so that afforded no privacy. And so in an effort to improve the privacy between us and our northern neighbor, we erected the wood fence. Now that part of the fence extends from the street or her driveway all the way to the beginning of what's a significant slope. So the terrain is largely flat where we've erected the fence, and then it drops off, and we basically decided there's no value in putting a wood fence there because based on the terrain, we can just look over the fence. And so for privacy, we felt that it was good to block off any visibility between where we would have our parking area and where she's at. With regards to the concern that the southern neighbor has with regards to parking, we have decided to remove that from the plan, and the drawing you have now indicates there is no parking going to be on that side of the property, because we want to respect her concerns about noise, traffic, that kind of thing on the southern end of the property. So we've converted that into a large open lawn, which I think is an improvement over what our original plan was, is to put parking there. It's very park-like, it's very serene, and it's a good place to just relax and enjoy the environment. So, and again, with regards to the traffic, yes, traffic on Elliott Road is an issue. It's not safe. I don't see how our current condition versus adding 20 to 30 cars additional is going to be that significant. I can have Public Works, if they want to discuss any mitigation plans for reducing the speeds of up to 60 miles an hour on that road down to 25 where they should be in both directions. I've observed it's quite bothersome. But as my wife mentioned, I don't see why we as business owners in the community should be penalized for the traffic patterns that are currently an issue. And I think that the county really should take a look at that in more detail. And if they have comments about the current condition, I'd love to hear it, because I, as a resident of Lockford, do find that to be a problem. So I really feel that if there are things that will improve our position and our agreement with the neighbors, we are willing to negotiate that. If it means we have to remove amplified sound, we're willing to do that. If it means we have to erect masonry walls, we're willing to do that. The main reason is because we believe that this historical resource needs to be shared with the community. And without it, then I think that historical resource is not going to be used to the potential that it can realize for the town of Lockford and improve the community experience there. Thanks.
Question for you.
Yeah.
You said you've only lived in Lockford a year or two. Reached out to all your neighbors. I know you've got a lot of neighbors around you. Have you reached out to them and discussed your project?
We have reached out to our neighbors. In fact, we did reach out to both Shirley and Kathy to let them know of our plans. And it wasn't until they seemed to be okay with it until we submitted our formal request for the permit, and then there was the opposition. Our other neighbors have generally been in favor of what's been going on. In fact, the report that Frank has indicates that our mail carrier was impressed with all the work that we've been doing since we've purchased the property. And
Neighbor.
She's not a neighbor, but the community in general, the Lockford community positively responded to the changes we've been making, and so I think they see it as a value to the community.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Questions?
Yeah.
Correctly. The thing that bothers me about it is the amplified sound. Just from hearing the neighbors' complaints, they're pretty adamant about it. Is that something you'd be willing?
Absolutely. We would definitely be willing to drop the amplified sound. We have done like I said, we did spend a significant amount of money on a noise study to determine what volumes would be appropriate given the code standards. We've actually said, it's allowed to go up to 10 p.m. Well, 10 p.m. is too late. We were going to back it off to 9 p.m. and we'd be very strict with our guests. If they are going to be blasting their DJ music beyond what we think is appropriate, I would just unplug it and say, sorry, you can't have that. Because we want to respect our neighborhoods. We want to respect our neighbors. We want to make sure that it doesn't interrupt them when they need to go to sleep. In the middle of the day, there's noise. Harley Davidsons drive down Elliott Road and they're pretty loud. So I think that the amplified sound, if that turns out to be a really big sticking point, then we are willing to completely get rid of that and just go to acoustic with no amplification, if that helps our cause.
Okay, any other questions?
Go ahead.
What's the limitation of, say, a wedding group? Is it 100 people?
Yeah, the maximum guest size based on our parking, it would be up to 100 people.
Well, that's not very many for a wedding. I'm looking at, we got about 25 people here right now.
Right.
We have the husband and wife and parson and the bridesmaid and the grooms. There's nobody there. And I'm curious, on that, you charge, what is it, $3,500, isn't it?
We haven't determined what the pricing would be based on our services.
It says here $3,500 plus $20 per person.
That's a tentative plan for what we would start with.
Oh, so this stuff I'm looking at is probably tentative.
I'm sorry?
What I'm looking at here is tentative. I thought it was the factual.
The pricing is not determined. I mean, if you're looking for the pricing for our packages, then we haven't yet determined what would happen given the improvements we do to the property and the kinds of services we might provide. that price may also include 5 guest rooms lodging for 2 nights.
I believe it's just, the woman was saying that just a couple of you do the whole thing.
Yes.
Great. Thanks.
I'm sorry, you said, where did you get the pricing schedule from? You have... It's possible that the information that you have before you may be outdated. Like I said, we have not come up with a formal pricing strategy, given the fact that we currently don't have a suitable venue to host that many people. So we're waiting to determine what kind of improvements we can make to the property in order to charge what is fair for that experience.
Go ahead, Mr. Staller.
Yeah, so I know, Randy, you mentioned something. You bought the bed and breakfast, or you opened it up 20 years ago? I'm sorry.
So the bed and breakfast was opened by the previous owners in 1997. It was converted from a single-family residence in severe disrepair, and they improved it, they renovated it, and they converted it into the bed and breakfast in 1997. And then in 2018, my wife and I purchased it at market value, and so consequently we didn't inherit it like many people in Lockford inherit their properties from their
Right.
ancestors. So we do have a mortgage on it that we need to pay.
Well, you've addressed one of my concerns, and that's the amplified music. And, boy, it's going to be, just so everybody knows, I think we had about 100 people at my wedding, so what it's worth, it was very nice. But for you and I did hear, because or he asked the same question about it, just you and your wife are going to be the only ones running the...
Currently, we are not financially able to hire staff at this point because of the...
But caterers and catering trucks and all that stuff will be able to come in, drop off the stuff, or no? I mean...
Yes, caterers would drop off their supplies and provide the food and service, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Close the public session and bring it back to the commission. Any comments?
I have a concern for the people living around there. Some of these people have been there for 25, 30, 40 years. I see all the statues all over the United States being pulled down, taken away from our history and all. And I hate to see something like this change. It's a beautiful spot up there. Just against it.
Yeah, I would like to see the amplified music gone. Sure, just for some protection for the neighbors. I think it's a fine use for building, which was originally an assembly hall. It's a very nice property, and I think the hospitality industry's been just killed by the COVID deals. So we got some people trying to figure out a way to make a living and make their mortgage payment. So I wouldn't be against it if the amplified music.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn because I do now being neighbors and having music, amplified music going on for hours, and at the same time, Mr. Grunsky has mentioned that, I mean, the restaurant industry, the whole pandemic has really put a hurt on a lot of people, and I commend you for wanting to go forward and doing it, especially at a time where we don't know when any of this is going to end. But and so you've actually persuaded me to be in favor of this.
I think it's a beautiful spot, but I agree the amplified music might be a bit much for the neighbors. I know they did the noise study. I think it's a nice spot, and 30 to 40 more cars. It's already a busy street. I just don't see that making a big difference.
I have a lot of issues with this project. For one, the main thing is it's commercial use in a residential area. Frank, I wish you would have given us a Google map to let us know. Gave us no photos of the neighborhood to go by. And we're supposed to make a decision. I mean, I think all of us went out there and took a look, but a Google map showing where this project, proposed project is compared to all the homes around it would have helped tremendously see where the neighborhood is.
We do have that, if you'd like us to pull it back up.
That's the deal.
Okay.
It would have been nice to have on the presentation of it.
It is in the presentation. There's a
No,
land
it
use
isn't.
map.
No.
All right.
Anyway, you got, obviously Elliott Road, there's a lot of issues there, and this will add to it a little bit, probably not a lot. Amplified music or not, you're still going to have noise. You have neighbors really close, very close. I walked on the property, went out. I'd like to know from staff what kind of lighting is going to be required for a commercial operation like this. What kind of parking lighting? I don't think it can be a little LED stuck in the ground lighting. It's got to be parking lot lighting, correct?
It is an ordinance requirement to provide adequate lighting for uses used in the evenings. That's correct.
So does that take into concern how this lighting overflows into the neighbors?
Yes, sir. It is not allowed to go beyond the property line. So and that's evaluated at the building permit stage.
You can't put a lot of people in a 2,500 square foot barn for a party. So there's going to be a lot of overflow, 100 people on a July night for a wedding. And if you don't have amplified music, that's your choice, but the overflow of the sound of the people talking, the event ends at 9 or 10, then they go to the parking lot next to the northern neighbor. And I've heard this from many people who live next to wineries. It may end at 9 or 10, but they don't go home at 9 or 10. They hang out in the parking lot. So that's going to be an issue. It's a great idea. The demand's going to be huge. Commercial operation in a very dense area, residential use. And another thing, I don't think a lot of people in Lockford inherit their property. People that farm down in there, they might have been passed on, but they. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. The process of is pretty much how it works with how the lady explained it. Is there any type of is that the process of code enforcement? You call the sheriffs then alert code enforcement. Is it separate phone calls? Is there any follow-up? I'm sure code enforcement being in the valley has a ton of things. Are they placed, just for personal questions, is it placed on a scale of importance? Because I think the more wine ordinances and stuff we put in, it seems like it's going to be a pretty popular topic. So what's the process on
that? Thank you. So there are two avenues. Usually on the weekends, you do call the sheriff's office, but to the extent that you can do it online or call in to code enforcement, there's a online called Go Request, and you fill that out, and then somebody will follow up through a field investigation. But it is complaint driven.
Complaint driven, and it possibly could be investigated a week or 2 weeks after, correct?
It depends on the priority and the workload, yes.
And so if a neighbor calls every Monday morning and said, too much noise or too many cars or too many people, complaint driven and they nobody's going to do a head count.
Is triaged each Monday, just to add to the director's information. Those are triaged and they are slated for response, just how the process works in terms of calls that come in from the weekend.
Probably not a lot of teeth in the initial code enforcement. Reality, I imagine, trigger.
And I've voted on a lot of for and against a lot of wineries that are now having weddings. Talked to neighbors, and they said, you allowed them 12. They had 16 or 17 last year. I don't know what your Mr. Kwan, how your system works, if they call in and let you know? Supposed to be on an honor system?
Just like most land use permits, if there's an issue and complaint, that's how we get out to it.
But I mean, as far as letting the county know we're having a wedding reception on this day, and this day. You have no idea.
For wine events
That's
particularly,
okay.
yeah.
I said, take a motion?
I want to make a motion and amplified sound. Amplified sound.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve PA 1900036. The amendment, or?
I believe what you would say is you'd want to go ahead and approve the item as stated, but remove the allowance for amplified sound as stated in the staff report.
Make a motion to approve the permit, but remove the allowance for amplified sound, the 12 events with amplified sound per year.
Have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Maury,
No, I cannot make finding number 4.
Commissioner Grunsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushdaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
No. Motion passes 3-2. The appeal period for this agenda expires on September 13th at 5 p.m. The appeal fee is $648. Other business?
I do want to state that on consent item number 3, there was a constituent who was contacting me as this hearing was going, and he had called the wrong number. So what I wanted to make sure I do is just offer up to the Planning Commission and the chair as to whether you wish to reopen that hearing or not. It's entirely your prerogative.
No, I don't. I don't at all. Else want to open it up? No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any reports?
Hearing Commission. So we have, which page was it? Yeah. All right, thank you. So we do have a meeting coming up for October 1st. Excuse me, sorry, wrong date there. It is.
No items on the first.
There are no items on October 1st. And for October 15th.
How about 17th of September? Let's start there.
Well, you got
It's
it.
just the enforcement action that you guys
I
asked to
apologize.
bring back.
Okay.
I apologize, I
No problem.
missed one.
You were jumping meetings there.
Yes.
Is that the only thing we have on the agenda?
That is the only one on the agenda, but it's a major item for the commission. And then, as I mentioned, no items on October 1st. And then for October 15th, we do have currently 3 items scheduled. One is for a master plan and specific plan amendment for Mountain House, particularly related to Farm Service Headquarters facility conversion to a construction service heavy operation type of facility. And then a second item, a general plan amendment for a 10-acre site and rezone for a use permit to establish a truck terminal. And then the third item is a major subdivision for a 13-acre subdivision into 171 lots and residential lots and 36 common area lots. And that would be the conclusion of my comments.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Maury.
Mr. Chair, for years I've always been under the illusion that the last 1 or 2 days or the last week or so before the meeting we should probably disregard any discussion by phone or by mail. I'd just like to have staff give me their thoughts on that.
The Chair, I'd like to probably defer that to our county council as to our abilities.
So we don't really have the ability to say to a constituent, for example, you cannot mail in or send an email or leave a voicemail or call and speak to staff on an item that is pending at the Planning Commission. So although some jurisdictions, we have discussed this before, some jurisdictions do have a cutoff date of, for example, 14 days before the scheduled hearing where they will not accept physical documents, in which case in those jurisdictions the constituents bring the documents to the meeting. So instead of getting documents through that 14-day period that staff tries to get to you before the meeting or give you a heads up on, and additionally respond to and bring you information so that you have information both from that constituent but also from staff, what happens is they do what we call in the legal field a document dump on the night of the meeting. So what we have chosen to do in San Joaquin County is to not put a deadline in so that information does come in. You as the commission, though, always have the ability to say, we did not have time to consider it, and therefore we're either not giving it weight because we did not have time to consider it. Of course, you can raise the idea that staff can tell you whether they did or didn't have time to consider it, and then you take that in terms of the weight that you're giving the information that's come to you. Alternatively, what we always make sure planning commissions know is that if you feel you don't have enough information, you can either table that item, and it is only then re-agendized and pulled off of that table when that issue or concern or information has been addressed or obtained, or you can continue that item to a date certain when you know you will have had time and staff will have had time to consider that. So there's some pros and cons to having a deadline. In our case, because we know those things do continue to come in, we've opted to not have one. If you would like the director now to consider whether to have one, those are some of the pros and cons he would consider and bring back to you as an option.
Through the chair, I would also add that we get, for some very hot items or controversial items, we might get a whole bunch of comments in the last day or two. So we wouldn't want to be put in a position of seemingly, hey, why didn't we get these kind of comments to the commission for your consideration? So it is kind of a pro and con balancing act in terms of what kind of comments we get, because they could be from both sides.
And as just to add to the director's statement, and I think you raise a really good point, that those items, even if we had a deadline and they came in, they would generally, those jurisdictions will still provide them at the commission and they become part of the administrative record. So it's really difficult because your vote actually would have that item in it because it was dumped on the night of. And so although we would make a statement as to weight, it is part of the administrative record. And that can make the defense of an item that is challenged later in the process difficult. And so that's one of the pros and cons. And so that's one thing we wouldn't be able to control by just adding in a deadline.
Stan, do you have? Would you like to see it one way or the other? Or?
Okay, we're adjourned.
I'm still ready to give my speech on a motion for reconsideration.
Good night.